Hello everyone, Darren here, and on today's episode of WotC Academy, we are going to look at the 42nd installment of the Map Awareness series. This video is brought to you by FlyinEgg, who is my go-to guy for when I need really good gameplay clips for some certain video series, as well as when I need an emergency replay, because for some reason my technology does not want to work with me half the time anymore. So yeah, it's getting to the point that I need some upgrades, but I can't afford that. So anyway, going back on topic, we are with FlyinEgg in the Progetto 54, the Tier 8 Italian auto-reloading heavy tank. He is on Nomenhan, it is standard battle, and he is in the northeast spawn, and right away we can see where he is going. He is going west, towards the enemy spawn. And this is more or less the strategy you're going to see from regardless of tier, except maybe the low tiers. Low tiers are still kind of just like, woo, squirrels. And we're going to, from this northeastern position, a lot of the time what ends up happening is you have a lot of your team hanging back on the east side ridge. I'm going splitting the map right down the middle with the river. You have the east side ridge, and then you've got the west side ridge, and you have a decent amount of tanks going from the east spawn over to the west side ridge, trying to engage the enemy there. And the southwestern spawn, the enemy spawn in this case, tends to go north and sit along that ridge, while some tanks go east into the city and the town to try and get some spots or anything over there, and yeah, varying results, honestly. Now, FlyinEgg has gone to a position I know all too well as well, because I tend to take the vehicle any vehicle really, that has decent amount of gun depression and or turret armor, and go to this particular spot on the map. And right now, FlyinEgg is debating on who to engage, where to engage, and what to engage. And, right now we can kind of see a little bit of that indecisiveness, but he has plenty of targets of opportunity to choose from, and in this particular case it's an M445, the Tier 7 French heavy tank. One that is actually a pretty decent heavy tank last I checked, although I honestly have not touched that vehicle in about 2 years. I really should. I actually kind of enjoyed that tank. Getting back on track, though, we're going to try and put a shot, and we are successful in getting a shot onto the MT-25, tracking it, though it unfortunately repaired itself before any tracking assistance could be done. We're going to try and put a shot onto the M445, but unfortunately one round fails to go through, and we are now waiting for the reload. Now, spoiler alert, this is a little bit of an average game, and we're going to put a second shot into the M445. That round went nowhere or just bounced right off, and we can visibly tell FlyinEgg is upset. Now, back to what I was saying, while we are currently a little bit pinned in this position, waiting for an opponent to peek out, he is keeping an eye on his map on who's being spotted around him, and we are also trying to find a tank to shoot at, because apparently our rounds don't want to work. Now, what's going to end up happening here is, as we saw, he gets spotted, and the GSOR 1008 rolls up over the ridge and then just puts a shot right into him. And now he's kind of stuck in this position because the GSOR here is probably going to peek out and do damage to him anytime that FlyinEgg is spotted and distracted. So we can see that little bit of that paranoia of like, oh, is he going to peek out again? And we can see him reacting with aiming and then rotating his turret to where the GSOR last was. Now, getting back onto what I was saying a little bit earlier, while we wait for FlyinEgg to try and figure out what he wants to do next in his battle plan here, I selected this game because when I watched the replay the first time, it seemed a little bit more like an average game, maybe below average for FlyinEgg. I don't know his standards. But the reason I wanted to showcase this is because it demonstrates a very good amount of discipline using the auto-reloading gun. The auto-reloading mechanism or gameplay mechanic as a whole is, I want to say, a little bit debated hotly within the community. And a little bit kind of going into tinfoil hat personal opinion here, I just do feel that it's kind of one of those mechanics that is definitely not for casual players. And I'm going to kind of, I've said that a lot, and I do kind of stand by the fact that I do not believe that the auto-reloading mechanism as a whole is meant for casual players, as a lot of players that may or may not understand how the mechanism is supposed to work will treat it either like a straight-up auto-loader, or they don't want to deal with the super long reload of each round, that they treat it like a single shot gun, which both methods are not really how you're supposed to use the gun. And so what FlyinEgg here is doing is not only demonstrating excellent trigger discipline and not just unloading rounds into whatever enemy is in his gun sights, but also showing more or less how you're supposed to use this mechanic, and that is picking your shots carefully, with, of course, the exception of trying to do a snapshot and your round completely failing to go where you want it to go. But we can see here that he is waiting. He's treating it like a single shotgun, even though there is an opportunity to put a follow-up shot immediately into that T-54E2. He's waiting for the first round to reload, and he's not really super bothered by the fact that he could have unloaded all 3 rounds. So there we go. He put 2 rounds in. Could he have put 3 rounds in? Quite possibly. But he instead decided that he wanted to keep his reload short, and he wanted to keep that reserve of ammunition handy just in case the unforeseen circumstance popped up. There we go. We finally got a snapshot into that A43, taking off mostly whatever was left of the health, but unfortunately the A43 is still alive on a sliver of health. Now, we're right now just trying to get to a much better position to react, or different line of sight on enemies here, seeing what we can do. He is heading more towards his spawn, either to get some additional cross shots, as we can see he's aiming that way, or he is going to go take care of the T-77. And I mean, the T-77 will, uncontested, will just go and cause problems. Thankfully here, though, we got a good shot on the Rheinmetall Borsig, just there on the hill, and that is definitely going to be a problem if left alone. And then there we go. After he let his round reload, he put 2 shots into the G-SOR, taking him out, leaving 1 round in reserve, and now he's waiting for the rounds to reload. He let 1 round go in, he was holding his shot, and then once he noticed that the VK 30.02 was about to go down over the ridge, he put another shot into him, taking care of him, bringing, a couple tanks down in quick succession. Now, what we're going to see here is FlyinEgg is not even going to bother shooting at him. He's just going to rush past him because he's trying to get a full clip loaded. And you can see the T-77 failed to put a shot into his last shot into FlyinEgg. And FlyinEgg, because he just pushed past to buy time for his entire clip to reload, managed to take care of the T-77. So now currently we are sitting at just over a couple hundred over 3,000 combined damage. We tried to do a snapshot on the Astron Rex, did not work out so well, and so now we're going to try and put his last shot into the Skoda T56 over there, and now we are stuck waiting for a very long reload. He immediately activates his food in order to buff the reload as quickly as he can. And, again, it's one of those things why you want to run food or anything to boost the reload on these guns. Again, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. He's kind of stuck reloading here, and he's waiting on the ridge, hoping to find something to spot. This game has been pretty close the entire time. As we can see, it's, 3v3 right now, so he's not full health, so he can't really afford to sacrifice any shot unless it's like the last tank alive, so he's got to be very careful with how he engages enemies. So we're going to pull back just a little bit here, try and see if we can stay with at least one teammate, so that way he has some form of support, or he can support the tank destroyer that's near him. So he's going to kind of reposition here. His teammates are tank destroyers, so from some people's perspective, that means that FlyinEgg has now been put into the role as the scout, but FlyinEgg is not doing that. He's instead wanting to let the enemy team come to them, which arguably is a smart move, equally, if not a better move, to let the enemy team come to you because your entire team is set up in well-established defensive positions, and you guys can, pick and choose your engagements there. Unless, you're getting rushed by like 5 tanks, and that's a different story completely. But that's not the case here. So right now, it is, as far as the FlyinEgg and his teammate know, it is a 2v1 situation. So FlyinEgg's just kind of hanging back, trying to figure out where this heavy tank is going to go. If the TD is spotted, the heavy tank is going to go after the TD. And, that looks to be what the T-54 was doing, although he lost track of where the TD is. And now FlyinEgg can just put 2 shots and take care of the T-54E2, because the T-54E2 is more focused on the TD in front of him. That is potentially a 1-shot. FlyinEgg has now got 1 round left, and he's going to go into a position to where he can try and get cross shots on that medium tank that was last spotted over on the western ridge. And of course, he has the teammate up north in the A56 area calling for help. And that is a Sturm Tiger P, I believe, so he definitely could use some support there. But right now, the A43 is the only thing spotted, and FlyinEgg may be the only person in position to put a shot into the A43 and taking him out. It's currently a 3v2 scenario right now, so someone is going to have, to play the role of a scout right now, simply because after watching their teammate go ahead and, cross and then get taken out, no one on their team is going to rush. And it looks like the Super Hellcat is going to make that role. The Sturm Tiger P took care of the heavy tank that was still alive, and now it is a 3v1 scenario, which, handled correctly, of course, can just rush them. You could even do it one at a time. You're not advised, because RNG could happen, but you can just rush the opponent, especially when they are on a sliver of health like that. You could breathe on them and they'll be taken out. So the tank destroyer is kind of in a position trying to get a good shot on the medium tank while FlyinEgg flanks, and Super Hellcat took care of the A43. But overall, maybe a slightly average game. I do think it is a very, very good demonstration of how you use the auto-reloading mechanism. Plus, a very good game. That's going to do it for today's video. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe.